Everybody, welcome, and today I'm going to do a video debunking this little post right here. This is coming from the Goku vs Saitama group online. If you guys are part of that group, you guys watch my videos and stuff like that, or you guys are just coming from this channel and just say, hey, Mike, I watch a video today, listen in, whatever, listen audio, that's fine too. And today's video, I'm going to debunk this post. I'm going to read it out and break down each and every other part. Now, I know this looks like a long post, but obviously I'm going to try my best to skim over it and pick up the important pieces this guy leaves. Because a lot of One Punch Man fans, when they do dumb posts like this, when they type the entire Homer's Odyssey onto Facebook and they think they spin some real big-time facts, all they're really doing is telling the entire versus debate community they're just here telling them we're the worst fandom possible when it comes to debating. Because as much as everybody likes to harp on all the other ones, like saying the One Piece fandom is toxic, the One Piece fandom's like only thing we complain about is probably they say stupid shit like hockey, no effecto, but even then, not a lot of them say that. People complain about Dragon Ball, despite them getting angry at the fact they put Goku against like City Busters, and they get mad that Dragon Ball fans have like two brain cells to put together so they can use common sense. But like One Punch Man fans, these guys don't even do versus debating. These are like filthy casuals stepping to the versus debating community and trying to give a insightful argument when really they don't know a damn thing about versus debating. That's why guys like White Up 11's bad at this. That's why guys like Ryan, who I've debated before, hopefully I can debate out him, but dude blocked me after I just creamed his ass in a debate before online. But hopefully, if anyone can, tell him, hey, bro, Devin wants to, debate you as well. We'll see, but obviously he ain't going to want to do it. So, in this video, I'm going to break down this fucking Homer's Odyssey of a post here because this man just typed all this stuff just for it to be wrong. So, this man says, so many people don't know what infinity is and how it operates. First of all, infinity does not grow. It does not grow. If that was the case, there will be potential. It will have potential. It will be limitless. If it was growing, infinity just is what it is. It just is. It does not grow. Equals it just is. He's basically saying that infinity goes on forever. Common sense, right? And then he says, so for Saitama to say he cannot grow any stronger proves he reached infinity. Even King backs this up when he says Saitama reached a pinnacle of strength in fiction, pinnacle of strength limits his power, etc., etc. Then he says there's nothing higher than infinity. The highest you can come is in fiction. And then he says anyone who argues this is just a tard or whatever, right? So a lot of One Punch Man fans don't, like I said before, don't read their own source material. What they'll do is they'll cherry pick the fun parts of the comic that makes their favorite bald character, OP. And the thing that One Punch Man fans don't understand is their own comic debunks them. So when he says even King backs this up, you want to know what he refers to when he says when King backs this up? King is referring to this scene where he says Saitama has reached maximum cap. Like he's just maxed out on all levels. He cannot grow any stronger. Now, in this post, he will be very hypocritical and then go back to saying peak means infinity. Now, where the fucking One Punch Man does it ever say that infinity is peak? This is the issue One Punch Man fans don't understand. They keep making up shit just to argue something that isn't even true. Your own comic says you're wrong. Your own author says you're wrong. Your own main protagonist says you're wrong. So I don't get when One Punch Man fans say stuff like this. They try to say that King apparently confirms this, but King just says you maxed out in your powers, Saitama. You cannot grow any stronger. He then says, because this is the highest level you can reach in fiction. Once again, the highest level you can reach in like fiction and anything else pretty much in storytelling is omnipotence, meaning you can oversee the entire boundless amount of energy you have. This means if Saitama was a true Omni King character, like the Omni God character that a lot of One Punch Man fans like to wank him to be, he should be able to rewrite entire stories. This man should be able to overwrite the plot. This man should be able to do all this stuff, but he doesn't. Saitama literally just says, I trained really hard and I got strong. There's nothing more to it than that, but One Punch Man fans can't read their own source material to use common sense. So next argument he tries to debunk is when someone brings up the argument, well, Saitama didn't one-punch Boros, and he's no longer One Punch Man, so how can you argue against that? And then this guy goes on to say, well, people who use his claim commit the burden of proof fallacy by intimidation. For those who don't know how fallacy works, suggest you go learn them. I like how One Punch Man fans just discovered what a fallacy is yesterday. Saitama didn't one punch Boros because he shares similarities with Boros. He can empathize with Boros, and he basically goes on to say that Saitama didn't want to one punch Boros because he felt bad for him. Okay, so first of all, this is objectively false because if you watch One Punch Man, you would know this is cap, and even Saitama goes on later on to confirm this whole section of this post is cap himself. So first of all, in the entirety of One Punch Man, Saitama uses normal punches on every single enemy. I brought this up before in my arguments, but this one is probably the best time to give a more formulaic way of breaking this down. So if you're a Sayatari listening to this and you go from the group to listen in, this is a key thing you listen to. If Saitama is one punching people with a normal basic attack, and he does all this to every single fodder enemy, but the one enemy he does come across, Boros, comes up to him and challenges him, and Saitama legitimately thinks that Boros is like, oh shit, Boros is kind of strong. All right, cool. So Saitama uses a normal punch of Boros once. Oh shit, okay, he survived that one punch. He then uses a bunch of consecutive normal punches of the same amount of energy. Boros is still not dead yet. And then Saitama says, okay, I'm going to use a serious punch. I need to use more effort. Immediately right there is proof that Saitama literally has to use more than one punch to beat Boros. And every one punch target, let's just say he held back. If Saitama didn't need to hold back before with all the other enemies, why did he drag out all the other 15 different enemies he fought before? And before you try to say, well, because he felt bad for Boros, that wasn't until the end of the fight. He said during the fight, he legitimately thought Boros was a threat. He said Boros is strong. He said himself. So don't even try to give me that. He was just wanking Boros at the end. No, even the guidebook says that Boros was beating Saitama's ass for a bit. So like a lot of One Punch Man fans don't seem to understand that like even their own like guidebook and main protagonist and the whole narrative of the story tells you you're wrong. When Saitama has to use a serious punch, this basically proves he doesn't have infinite power. A character with infinite power would not need more energy in order to one punch a character that's below them. Saitama should, by this ideology, one punch everybody. He can't gauge his power, right? So then he says, he gets mad at this next argument. He says, when someone says simply, Saitama's not a gag character, he's a parody character. Ooh boy, this is one of those, this is basic proof One Punch Man fans don't know anything about versus debate when they say, no, Saitama's a gag character. And they say this dumb argument right here. They say, for those who say this foolish claim like this, they'll never understand what One Punch Man has to bring in for Saitama to not only that they missed the joke. Saitama has a recurring joke to one punch anyone except for Boros, Orochi, and Garu because they're strong enough to survive a normal punch. They missed the joke. One punch anyone, anything, whenever he wants, depending on what he wants to. That's Saitama's joke / gag. Recurring director One Punch Man also points this out too much. Action sequences are actions and gags. He said in the original One Punch Man, we do not add or omit that much. And action ended with action sequences. Gags or gags implying that only. So basically, he's basically trying to use the argument that since Murata said that Saitama's a different type of gag character, this means he must be a gag character. First of all, One Punch Man fans, this is not what we mean. We say gag character in verse debate because you guys get translations all type of wrong when you say stupid shit like this. So this is what we mean. A gag character is anyone who can manipulate reality for the sake of comedy. Strictly for the sake of comedy. When they're avoiding conflict, they have to use a joke in order to avoid it. They use comedic tactics in order to avoid the issue. Like Seth said in his video where he debunked this stupid fucking argument, he said basic as this. If Saitama was a character who legitimately went around and was like a gag character, he should be confronting every single last one of these enemies with a funny haha joke, not his actual straight up power. If your argument is recurring joke equals gag, Zoro from One Piece is a gag character now. Because he has a reoccurring joke, he gets lost all the time. So why is Why is Zoro not a gag character then? Why is all these other fictional characters that have a joke that's a running gag not making them a gag character? Because One Punch Man fans at least know that the word gag usually gets you a bye in a fight, meaning that you get an auto win in their eyes, right? But even gag characters can be susceptible to defeat. So One Punch Man fans can't even tell you how a gag character works because the majority of the time they argue stupid shit like this. So when a One Punch Man fan ever goes to me and says, well, Saitama's a gag character because he makes a funny joke, hee hee ha ha, I haven't seen Saitama reality warp in order to avoid a fight. He just beats their ass and walks off. Saitama doesn't reality warp in order to avoid conflict. When he ran to Boros, it was a serious confrontation between two opponents. It wasn't Saitama went up to him and pulled a pencil out the crack of his ass and drew a hole in the wall and ran away from Boros. That's a gag feat. Saitama punching Boros 10 different fucking times in order to defeat him is not a gag feat. So then we go into his next part right here. He says, he gets mad when someone brings the argument of removing your limiter gives you infinite potential, not power. He says, people make up crappy arguments like this and like this has to be the worst so far. Come on, kids, pay attention for once. Do research and don't assume what comes out of your pants. Well, what the fuck? All right, I don't know what the hell that means. The limiter explanation is talked about so many times. Dr. Jenna says that Saitama has lost his hair for power, not potential. He had one set potential. In exchange for power, he became bald. Key word is not potential. See, here's what's weird about this already. I kind of pointed this out a couple of times I was reading through this to myself, but I realized this makes no sense to me. Why do One Punch Man fans get mad if someone brings up this argument of, well, I never saw the word infinity in the discussion. He just said limitless power, but he never once said Saitama's infinite power, right? One Punch Man fans will be so quick to say, he don't gotta say infinity, bro. He just gotta say limitless. So when you turn back around and say he didn't say potential, so obviously he ain't referring to it. Well, then what the fuck is it then? Because when every other source material in the series is implying Saitama has maxed out his power and no one's caught up to his level just yet, then your whole argument's falling into no limits fallacy territory because, first of all, Saitama, all he just said he did was train super hard and got strong. Dr. Genis just said, yeah, Saitama just trained really hard and broke all his limiters. So how is Saitama infinite in power just because your argument is, well, I never saw the word potential? So I guess he's just infinity now. Nothing in the series implies infinity. Everything in the series implies that this man has a limit to his power. He's reached it, and no one else can touch it. He says himself, I have reached my limit. Nothing says infinity, just says I reached my limit. The king says, you maxed out on the cap and power. This is why I don't like debating One Punch Man fans, because we'll be on debates for hours and hours talking about definitions of the words rather than who can kick whose ass or what abilities, because they know Saitama has no feats. They know Saitama has no feats, no abilities. They know Saitama's a featless fodder character, so they have to try and make up dumb word plays and everything except for fighting somebody, right? And then he says, when someone gets mad about this next argument, he says, Boros can't sense Saitama's power because he is plant service, plant level Boros. Now, this one, I have to read this one into. So let's see. So people make this claim will still prove they have, okay, great English. You cannot apply one fiction to another thus committing a false equivalence fallacy. From Dragon Ball, Naruto's Earth is way different compared to One Punch Man. The context from One Punch Man is way different. So people who say that, it only let me know they're not trying to understand information. I don't know what this man's argument here is. I guess he's trying to say that I don't know, like, is he trying to say that Boros can't sense Saitama's power because he's plant surface? I never heard this argument from anyone on the Dragon Ball side or anyone in the Versus community who ever said this, but I can just simply tell you this is probably a better argument. The reason why Boros he can tell Saitama's a high amount of power. He can sense it, right? Now, I don't really have anything for the planet level to perfect planet service part. I think you guys know my stance on Boros. I'd say Boros is highballed star level if you take in the context of the guidebook appropriately, because that would be the only thing that makes sense. But he says, right here for the next argument, the author says Saitama has reached his peak/maximum, so he's not limitless. For those who say that honestly don't know, when was the last time your English You went to English class, so let me explain. Peak and maximum to range to infinity. This man just said, I know you guys haven't been to English class, and then proceeds to say peak and maximum goes to infinity. No, it doesn't. Infinity goes on forever and has no end to it, like you said earlier in your previous statement, right? But then he goes on to say, no, I backtrack. Actually, it has a limit, kinda, not really. Maximum and peak means the absolute highest that you can achieve, right? Infinity means you go on forever. They're two separate things, people. This is why YGIP11 couldn't even debunk Ace in his debate, because all he kept doing was trying to go to Google and look at 10 different definitions for the word, because he knew if One Punch Man debates arguments, they don't argue feats, they don't argue calcs, they don't argue scaling, they argue with Google definitions of words just because they know that Saitama has no feats. And then even when you do debunk them under Google definition of words, they'll try to call you the dummy, because they'll try to say that, oh, maximum equals infinity. No, infinity goes on forever. Maximum means you have maxed out, you cannot grow any stronger. He says, as well as peak and maximum pinnacle, the highest thing you can achieve in fiction. For example, Goku has achieved limitless power that is as peak and maximum that he can achieve the most achieve. I provide scans to prove that maximum peak are ranged to infinity. I will be going over these dumb scans in a few minutes, because golly, even Google says, nigga, you're stupid. As well as because fiction is not reality. Flashback to my point earlier, as I said, infinity does not grow. Okay, if infinity does not grow, even though you just said infinity goes on forever and has no one, so technically speaking, infinity does grow and go to some point, does grow eventually, because it's infinity, goes on forever. It's continuously growing. And peak and maximum means you have reached a limit. Then what are you talking about? What are we getting at here? I don't quite get this one, but all right. Then he says right here for this next one, Saitama does not have feats to prove he's limitless. This is actually a common trend that people love bringing up. Some works of fiction focus on feats, some works of fiction focus on statements, some works of fiction focus on both. For you to say he must show the specific feat, when the author already admitted that he has put Saitama as peak and cannot grow anymore, to you, the only focus on feats, but understanding that works different fiction operates in different ways. Saitama won't destroy the universe because just so you can admit that somewhat strong you deem fit. One Punch Man works differently. Boys, One Punch Man's type of show, you need a person with a high... Oh my god, this man pulled the Rick and Morty argument. You need a high IQ to understand it. Saitama's not meant to be in a versus debate when he makes fun of shonens and their power. So One Punch Man fans once again using mental gymnastics in order to avoid giving us proof. So this is the blatant issue here, right? So a lot of One Punch Man fans love to say that Saitama, they get mad whenever anyone asks a simple question. Hey, do you have any feats that prove Saitama's a planet, above, like timeline busting? You have anything? They always go to arguments like, well, I don't need feats. Here's the thing, I always said in verse debating. You don't necessarily always need feats, but you do need some type of evidence to prove the character's capable of doing something, right? But One Punch Man fans have ran this one headcanon for the past 7 years. This show's been out, I believe. For the past 7 years, One Punch Man has been out. They've all done the same argument, which has been Saitama has limitless power, so he beats everyone in fiction, which is a no limits fallacy, because even your own series tells you you're wrong. So he says that some works of fiction focus on statements and feats and all this other stuff. I will admit, this part is kind of true. For example, in Dragon Ball Z, that's why I don't like when people try to say, I haven't seen Goku blow up a planet. Why the fuck would Goku, the protagonist and the hero of the story, go and blow up a planet? I don't know. That's why in Dragon Ball you use scaling, because that's the only way you really can prove that Goku can bust planets. Or heck, just use common sense and calcs in order to find this answer as well. Doesn't really take a genius, because for some reason in verse debating, everyone's just pissing and shitting themselves when Dragon Ball fans just simply say, hey, I have this feat right here, and I can gauge off of this. So why would Kid Buu, who's able to bust up a galaxy over a course period of time, be weaker than current Vegeta? And they say, shut up, don't use scaling. But One Punch Man fans can't even do scaling for some reason, because they know that Saitama's only star busting, or at best above star level at this point, right? So then he says, for some weird reason, he gets pissy about this when someone brings up this argument. So I don't really get how this is really that much of an argument when all you're really saying this whole time is, I don't need feats, no way to do this. And he says Saitama isn't meant to be in versus debates. Dude, there's no character really is going to have to fall in this category, because once again, like I debated Ryan and why give up 11 about this? Both of them made the same argument of Saitama's just built different. Bro, we don't care about how the author writes Saitama. Writing does not exist in a versus debate. The author cannot come about the cut, hold Saitama's hand and tell him, alright Saitama, you're going to be an omnipotent, universe-shattering god this convenient fight. Because why the hell does that matter? Why would I need the author to suddenly come in and help Saitama? I don't know. So then this is literally an argument I haven't heard in a long time, because One Punch Man fans have sometimes brought this up here and there, despite their own series explicitly like on screen they tell you he can't breathe in space. But when someone brings up Saitama can't breathe in space, his argument is yes he can. If you watch the Boros and Saitama fight, you will see Saitama hold it while he's on the moon, opens his mouth and realizes he cannot realize he's in space, blocks his nose in the vacuum space, you've already taken him out. See, this is what happens when One Punch Man fans don't understand implication of the story. When the story is showing you on screen, Saitama is basically treating the situation like, oh shit, I can't breathe in space, obviously. So, I don't really quite get this one. He says, in a vacuum of space, he's already taken him out instantly, with Saitama blocking his nose. It's more dangerous for humans to block their nose when they're in space. Yes, because the author of One Punch Man's a fucking astrophysicist. I know that, right? So, obviously, One Punch Man fans don't understand that it's implication. If Saitama's holding his nose in space, why is he doing it for no fucking reason? I don't know. I guess Saitama's wanting to hold his nose. I don't know, man. I guess One Punch Man fans just don't watch their own content, I guess. And obviously, Saitama just trained to get strong. Nothing in One Punch Man has ever said Saitama gained the ability to fly. Nothing's ever said Saitama gained the ability to breathe in space because of training. And his defense for this is Saitama is made to be invincible from the very beginning of the show. Feats and scaling doesn't matter to him when they're meaningless in the eyes of Saitama. What is this weird biblical writing you're doing for Saitama? In the eyes of Saitama, feats and scaling doesn't matter. No, into Saitama's eyes, feats and scaling do matter. He explicitly says, I need to use this much effort to knock out a strong opponent. Why are you even trying to write this biblical text on Saitama? And then he says, they're meaningless at Saitama, and yes, Saitama still trains, but he isn't growing anymore. So Saitama's trained for no reason, by the way, guys. Keep this in mind. Saitama's just training for no fucking reason. Saitama has even admitted that he finally managed to acquire an invisible power. Not invisible. He's invisible now, guys. This is not death to the author fallacy, because there's nothing proving wrong what the author said about this character. I would suggest for One Punch Man creator to read and what the death of the author fallacy is. So obviously you know death of the author fallacy is when something in the series contradicts what the author says, obviously. But the thing is, the One Punch Man fans like to cherry pick words too fucking much, and it gets really bad, right? Like, I don't get this. So when I say the author of One Punch Man said Saitama reached maximum peak amount of power. He cannot grow any stronger. He has just reached the absolute limit of power. Someone has to go up to him and reach his level, right? And Saitama says, yep, I maxed out, I capped out. All this different wordplay and stuff that One Punch Man fans will love to do. They will do anything they want to avoid a debate about actual scaling feats and calcs or anything. They'll just say, Saitama's just built different, bro. So, nonetheless, we'll get to these dumb arguments. We have guys like Alfred here, where he says, if Infinity does not grow, if Infinity is not getting larger, it's already fully formed. If Infinity is not doing anything, it just is. Why is Saitama still training? I don't know. He keeps bringing this up. But then he brings this statement right here where he says, his name is Saitama. He became here for fun, and he underlines fancy little words like invincible power, such strength. Defeat any opponent with one punch, unless you're Boros, Sagaru, and Orochi. So, One Punch Man fans love bringing this scan up for some reason, because it doesn't prove a damn thing. It really doesn't. All you just did was just tell me that you just never read a guide book a day before in your life, or read a passage of a manga in a day in your life. So, One Punch Man fans don't seem to understand that every single series does this with a character that's extremely powerful. Right? Alright, King Piccolo is limitless. Saiyans are limitless according to Vegeta. Heck, Beerus is limitless. The androids are limitless. Kakashi's omnipotent. Tamari's universal according to the guidebooks. Every single one of these series will have some form of hyperbolic statement to exaggerate how powerful the character is. They won't be like, how can I say, a way more blatantly telling you things, like way more on the nose, like planet busting. If they tell you planet busting, you're pretty being up in your face, like, yeah, he can bust a planet. But if a series just says defeat any character with one punch, they're just telling you what he does on average. He's majority of the time being someone with one punch. However, he isn't going up to anyone like fucking Boros, obviously, and defeating one punch. It took him way too many to do this. And every time one punch in a fan started to say, he was holding back. Saitama said that he wasn't holding back. Saitama said later on, hey, I had to legitimately go ahead and use a certain amount of power to one punch Boros. I need to use killer higher level moves on stronger opponents. So then, One Punch Man fans then post stuff like this. I don't really quite get this one really all that much, but this one's saying exchange of power. He is trained, became a god. I don't care what the term god really means because in anime and fictional storytelling, the term god can really mean shit like Kaiju or Suzuki. Or if you ever seen Comic Book Rant make those lists about characters that can beat this character, like characters that can beat Superman, they'll put, well, Kaiju Osusuki is a god, right? It's like, okay, dude, a god can really mean anything. And One Punch Man, the god tiers are anyone who can bust planets. So according to One Punch Man, Yamcha from Dragon Ball Z is a god tier. He has no human trait, no feeling, no fear, no joy, no tension. Yeah, okay, I don't really care. So yeah, Saitama is saying he cannot get any stronger does not contradict him being infinite. Yes, it does. Because infinity at some point continues to grow. It goes on forever. There's no end to it. If Saitama says, oh wait, I can't do it anymore, I reached the limit, that means I cannot grow any stronger. But One Punch Man fans can't read their own comic or just do basic common sense. They argue stupid shit like this. So I guess gotta sit there and just read this malarkey in front of us. But yeah, went my way to debunk this post. If you guys want any more content like this, anyone who wants to debate me over this topic, honestly, hit comment section, my Discord, whatever. I'll gladly debate you, record it, whatever. If you want to for a video, that's fine. But other than that, thank you. Like and subscribe if you want to for some weird reason, and see ya.